There we go. Lovely lady's voice. So welcome very much. My name's Joe Malloy, as I think you probably all know. And I'd like to introduce Matula Piscopani. This is my friend and colleague. We've worked together for many years. Matula is based in Greece and has a practice as a shaman and a breath worker there. Um, so there are so many different ways to step in to the program that we have for you this evening. Initially, I thought maybe there'll just be, 4 or 5 people signed up. And by yesterday, I think there were 65. So whether everyone gets to join or not, I don't know. And I thought maybe I need to have a bit more of a structure to deliver to you. And that's what we have. But at the same time, the idea of having to have more of a structure, you know, is something I want to kind of come back to and weave in. Because one of the things that's been showing up for me in my conversations with people over the last few days, last few weeks, is how the beliefs in our head, the thoughts in our head, the beliefs about what we feel we need to do aren't always originating from ourselves. Sometimes we're picking something up from somewhere else. And it's really useful to know where the thoughts that we think come from. Is it yours? Is it mine? And if it's not mine, how did I get it? How did I start to pick up this information? So hopefully we'll come back to that a little bit. What I'd like to do to start is to open sacred space. Now I do this with all of my ceremonial healing work and all of my workshops. And I'd like to do it tonight, even though this evening might be a little bit more biased towards conversation and talking with some practical exercises. I'd like to do it because it leads very much into what I want to be talking about how to stay in harmony and balance within ourselves and in relationship with the world around us. So just before doing that, the history to this has been that in working with people over the last few months, I've noticed increasingly how many people, and people perhaps who are following spiritual paths or healing paths, people who found that for one reason or another, they're feeling out of balance with the world around them. And they may have their own energetic or spiritual or healing practices that usually keep them in their center. But for some reason, many people have been finding that what they've been doing hasn't been working as well as they've needed it to. And when this happens, first thing we think about is there's a problem. It's a crisis. Something isn't working. But when I've heard so many people talking about this and having an experience like this myself fairly recently, I begin to look at the bigger picture and wonder, what is the theme? And why is there a theme? And where is it taking us? How can we usefully use this information? So sacred space usually begins with a prayer. Some people will call it, in some traditions, an invocation. Some it's a prayer. Some it's calling in the relationship with the organizing principles of the universe. But in every case, what it does is it brings us into balance with everything around us. So usually I'd stand up and face the 4 directions in turn, but tonight I'm just going to extend my arm so that I can stay on the camera. Um, you might like to close your eyes and in your own way connect with the space around you. To the winds of the south, Sachamama, Hatunamaya, Mother of the waters, source of all life, we welcome you. Come be with us. Wrap your golden coils of light around us and keep us grounded, close to the earth. Help us to walk the beauty way softly on the earth as you do, shedding our paths sweetly and easily, just as you shed your skin. Welcome, welcome, Mother. Oh, To the winds of the west, mother sister jaguar, Otorongo chocochichai, rainbow jaguar, you have seen the birth and death of galaxies. Come with us as we step between the worlds over the rainbow bridge, between the worlds we know of as life and death, so we have no fear, even in the face of death. And sit with us as we sit with our shadows. Help us to bring light into our darkness, to make the invisible visible, so we truly can be peaceful warriors, rainbow warriors, with no need to make war with the world within ourselves or with the world around us. We welcome you. Oh. To the winds of the north, Siwakinti, Hummingbird, Colibri, you who are the great journeyer. Take us under your tiny wings and set us on the path of change, evolution, and growth. Help us to hold the balance between stillness and motion in all that we do. Grandmothers, grandfathers, ancient ones, all of you who have stepped outside of the cycle of time into the timeless and ever-present now. Warm your hands on the fires of our hearts and whisper to us across the winds. And you who have yet to come, our children's children, welcome, welcome. Oh. To the winds of the east, Apuchin, Condor, spirit of the high mountains, the apple coolness. As you step into the sky, lift us up on your back, so we can see that, like you, we too fly wingtip to wingtip with great spirit, soul beings having a human experience. And as we sow the seeds for the future, help us to create from the new, from the as yet unmanifest force of the universe. Welcome. Oh, Shaman, we come in honor, Mother, for you, for ourselves, and for all of our relations. For those who could come and for those who could not. The no legs and creepy crawlers, the 2 legged, 4 legged, and many legged, bird finned and feathered ones, stone people, plant people, the whales, dolphins, and the standing people, the trees. Help us to walk in harmony with the world within ourselves, the world around us, always. Oh, Inti Taitai, Father Sun, Mama Kia, Grandmother Moon, our brothers and sisters of the great star nation, welcome. Be with us, watch over us, and guide us. Remind us that we're not alone, but part of a great and cosmic order of all things, all beings, as above, so below. And Great Spirit, you who know by 1,000 names, you who knows the unnameable, but you who we see reflected in everyone, everything around us and within us. Be with us as we sing the song of love, life, joy, laughter, and freedom together one more day. Oh! I always wonder where I put these glasses, and almost always on the top of my head, you know. So, welcome, sacred space. You know that physicists of a different language, but talk about the same thing, how the world is organized, the universe is organized by complementary forces. When something keeps everything in harmony and balance in relationship together, and for the Inca people, for the Kero, they call this Aini. Oh, have I got your picture, not mine? Oh, technology! Isn't it great? Oh, that's what I need to do. Okay, we'll go back to the gallery for a minute. Okay. I'm going to put a little picture up and try to illustrate what I want to say. Okay. So you should be looking at a little circle, a green circle. This was my profile picture, I think, at the beginning. The world we live in is organized by seen and unseen forces. Physicists talk about them with language like gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, bosons, quark, all of these things that mean very little unless you've studied physics. And ancient people didn't have universities and colleges to go to. They didn't study physics in the same way. They studied it by looking at the world around them. They studied it by seeing how everything interacted. And they found things to represent these forces from the natural world that surrounded them. So they looked at the binding principles. You might think gravity is the binding principle that brings things together or pushes things apart. And as we open sacred space, we talk about serpent. Serpent for the Inca tradition represents the binding principle. Serpent, jaguar, the hummingbird, the condor. When we call in our relationship with them, what we do, serpent, jaguar, hummingbird, condor, when we come into an equal relationship with those four, we put ourselves in the middle of the jhana. The equal-sided cross shows up in so many mythologies and traditions. Opening sacred space isn't just a beautiful way to begin ceremonies, it's a way of bringing ourselves into harmony and balance. And the world we live in pulls us one way, pulls us another way. So many people at this time of the year feel pressured with so many things to do. Christmas coming. Christmas is supposed to be a beautiful celebration, time for catching up with friends you haven't seen since last year, maybe family you haven't seen since last year, an opportunity to give and receive gifts, a time for peace and love. And yet it's a time when so many people feel under pressure to do things. And the energy around us and the world around us is all about slowing down. Animals are hibernating. There's a longer night than there is day. Everything is going to sleep. And yet we're trying to be busier and busier and busier. So one of the first practices that can help us to stay in harmony and balance is creating what I call sacred space. You can have other words to describe the same thing, but having a practice that creates harmony and balance. So you come to a place of stillness in the middle of these forces that organize the universe. If they can hold the universe together, then how much more easily can they help us to hold the space around ourselves together? Okay. So just as a first simple practice, anytime when you feel out of balance with the world around you, opening sacred space, sitting in that space, finding your own place of stillness brings you back into Aini, back into harmony. It's just not always easy to stand up with a bunch of feathers and a rattle or a drum. You might stand out on the local bus or in your office a little bit more than is comfortable. So you can sit in your own space and just intend the connection. Everything that we do is a combination of action and intention, isn't it? How many times when you haven't seen someone, you think about them and you intend to connect with them, and the next thing you know, out of the blue, you get a message on your phone, or they phone you, or they show up at your door. Intention can be even more powerful than action. Opening sacred space brings us. Oh, sorry, I'm going to say, if you have questions or anything you want to ask or any comments, please use the chat. Matula is going to watch the chat and look for any questions that seem appropriate to fit in or things to come back to at the end, or to point them out to me so that I'm not clicking around on the keypad. And you can have my fullest attention. So if there's something you want to ask or something you want to comment, please type away. Okay. Anyone can open sacred space. We have some words, some prayers, some formats that we like to use that we're going to put um, into resources that you can have after the call, and you can use those, or you can make up your own. Something that has meaning for you is always more important and more powerful than something that sounds good but has more meaning to someone else. Another way to stay in harmony and balance is having a medicine bundle, a mesa. Not all traditions, not all shamanic traditions have medicine bundles. Um, Shaman work in different ways. Some rely more on the relationship with spirits of the ancestors or other spirits. Inside the medicine bundle created in this tradition are is one set of stones, 13 stones, but also four sets of stones, one for each of the four directions. And the journey around the medicine wheel connects you with the energy, the healing skills, the archetypes, the four directions of the medicine wheel. Each stone in a shaman's mesa connects with them. It's created by transforming some of their life experiences or personal wounds into healing gifts and healing powers. So there's a personal relationship, a personal connection. When the shaman has all four directions in their mesa, then their mesa is held in the same balance as we're held when we open sacred space around ourselves. So if you have your own medicine bundle and you feel out of balance and harmony yourself, first thing you can do, open your mesa and have a look at what's going on inside it. Maybe you look at it and you see something appears to be missing. So you add something to complement what you're missing in your life. It's also like a shaman's first aid kit in very practical ways. Excuse me for fidgeting. I am a fidget. I'll put my hand up and say I am a fidget. But I had a strange experience yesterday, which is making me fidget. I fell over, you know. So again, I'm thinking, where am I not in harmony and balance, or where am I not paying attention? I was taking the bin down to the main road, ready for all of our recycling to be collected today. And in just one moment, as my feet stood on the mossy ground on the tarmac, one foot went one way, one foot went the other way. I went down on the ground. One arm goes back, one arm goes forwards, and I'm lying there with the wheelie bin full of recycling almost on top of me. Yeah, I went in two ways, two different directions at the same time. And I'm thinking, how did I not see this happening? So it was painful. I definitely thought someone should come along and they should give me lots and lots of sympathy. But at the same time, I'm thinking, what is this telling me? What is this showing me? I'm talking, I knew I was talking today in some way about harmony and balance. And so maybe there's something I was missing. Maybe it took slipping over on the ground to make me aware of it. I don't know. All of these things happen. And the path of the shaman is to be aware of all of these things. We exist together in resonant morphic fields. Have you heard this phrase before? This idea? Maybe you know it more as the butterfly effect. So the same thing happens. Something happens. The idea of the butterfly effect is that something happens in one part of the world. They say maybe a butterfly flaps its wings on a skyscraper in New York, and it creates an effect that looks like a tsunami or tidal wave off the coast of Japan. Two events disproportionate to each other. A butterfly flapping its wings, such a small thing. Tidal wave, a massive thing. Physically separated. How can it be? How can it happen? Shaman have always known that things that appear physically separate are still connected. Quantum physics says the same things these days. So we exist in resonant morphic fields. There's a resonance, harmony between things in this field of energy that connects us. And that field of energy changes every time something happens, whether it's something we do or something that we hold in our mind, something that we intend, something that we feel even. So the shaman's mesa has a connection with the person who created it. And you could say it acts like a first aid kit to bring this person, me, into balance. There have been times walking with groups in the Andes, and we're very high up, and sometimes there's a little difficulty with the altitude. And the experience, if any of you have had it, the experience of altitude sickness, one of its effects is you can feel your appetite goes and you feel quite sick. Some people actually, they're vomiting, they're nausea. So you really don't feel like eating anything. The best medicine are the coca leaves, but they're quite bitter tasting. And if you're already feeling sick and you don't like the taste of these things, the last thing that you want is to chew some of these dried up leaves. So I say to people, open your medicine bundle and you take some of these leaves and you put them in with your stones and you feed your stones. Just put the leaves in with your little rocks. Feed your stones with your leaves. Put some dry rice in because if you're feeling sick, you're not going to be eating. And you feed your stones with what you want to feed you. So anyone can create a medicine bundle. You take a cloth or a bag, you can put some stones in, and you have the intention that you're going to develop a connection between the stones and yourself. The medicine wheel journey, the shaman's medicine wheel journey that I guide people through over usually a year here in the UK, in Greece with Matula, and in Ireland also the last year we've been working there. Um, this takes you on a personal healing journey, a journey where you learn all of the healing skills of the shaman, and a journey where you create your mesa. And a lot of the focus has been in the past on creating the mesa so you have stones you can use as healing tools to help others. You know what? And I think it's important to come back to the first principles, the beginning, and remember that we're all on our own healing journey. We can look around and say, oh, I think I'm doing a bit better than him, or I'm not doing as well as that one. I'll point upwards because if someone's doing better than me, I'll make it a hierarchy. I'm not doing as well as them. They've got the castle and the new car, but at least I've got a car. I haven't got a bike, or not. Something like that. We make comparisons. But everyone is on their own healing journey. Each one of us is a soul incarnating as a human being with some intention different to everyone else about what we want to experience or heal or learn or bring into balance in this lifetime. So the Mesa is a resource for everyone. We're all on a healing journey. Sometimes it's a journey of discovery. Sometimes, we know that certain things have happened in our lives and we know we want to heal that. A friend of mine, she started the medicine wheel journey and she'd had a very tough childhood. And her idea was maybe she wouldn't be a healer, but she'd like to bring that healing into her own life and heal herself. And about halfway around the medicine wheel, the idea occurred to her that maybe there was something within herself or something in the healing skill she was learning that she could offer to other people. She'd quite like to do that. So some people will start from one place, wanting the healing for themselves. Some people will start thinking, my life's been pretty good. I haven't had too many places in life where I've stubbed my toe on things. No one's really hurt me or upset me. Things have gone well. And that's lovely. And they still discover, as they learn the healing skills that they want to practice and offer to other people, that there may be places in their life where they can grow more than they expected, where they can come more into harmony and balance than they expected, or perhaps the things that impact them that they didn't realize, they come as epigenic inheritances. They come as stories, traumas, wounds, experiences that they've inherited from ancestors or from past lives. Okay. How are we doing for questions material? Is anything showing up at the moment? Or no? Oh, we're good. Okay. So I even have the chakana on my cup here. Even my tea is in balance. So this evening's call, and one that I did last week for people who've been doing training with me over the last few years, started as an idea of connecting. I've been thinking for a while that the coming year, the coming couple of years, are going to be quite powerful. They're going to offer opportunities for transformation and healing, for growing that perhaps we haven't had access to before. And I've been looking at the astrology of the coming years. This is something that's I've always been interested in, but it's become a growing a tool that I use to look at what's happening and what's likely to be coming. And I've also been looking at the themes of people I've been working with and looking at emerging patterns and what's been happening in my own life. So for anyone around about 28, 29 years old, you'll be going through your first Saturn return. And anyone who's about double that age, which is where I am, you'll be going through your second Saturn return. And there are opportunities to re-examine the structure that we create to organize our lives that's derived from the beliefs that we hold within our mind. Our beliefs create our reality. So the more beliefs you have, the more things there are to question and re-examine. And you can either see the process as being a kind of, what have I done to deserve this kind of experience? I don't know who I am. Everything's uncertain and up for change. Or if you've maybe a few things holding you in place and supporting you, you might think of it as the greatest opportunity ever. Just like the serpent, yes, when we talk about shedding its skin. You never see an old looking snake. I'm not a very big fan of snakes, I will say. Maybe because I don't know them. At this end of Europe, we don't see many snakes. There's a few grass snakes. You might see an adder. There are no very, very venomous snakes. Only the ones we hear about or see on the television. And perhaps because I haven't had direct experience of them, I don't really know them. And often we're afraid of the things that we don't know. But a friend of mine who's quite passionate about snakes was telling me that she said, you never see an old snake or an old looking snake. There are bigger ones, smaller ones, fatter ones, thinner ones. There are old ones and younger ones. But snakes have we call it, the routine, the habit, the cycle of shedding the old outer layer so that they can grow. And we don't do that. We don't have a similar process with our body to connect us with the idea that we need to shed the outer layer so that we can grow. And the outer layer, what we present to the world, And the way we experience the world are all of our beliefs about ourselves and the world we live in. Every now and again, I think we get to a place in our lives where for some reason the world no longer fits with what we believe. Think about that. We think it's the other way around. But the world no longer fits with the beliefs that we have because we've created an image of the world. The world around us isn't usually, at least I found, it's not usually the way we think it is. We just think it is the way we believe it is. So you might see an older looking shaman, but you don't see an older looking snake. They're always renewing and letting go of the outer layer, shedding so that they can grow. So thinking about this as being an evolutionary time, astrologically, we have Saturn moving through Pisces. Pisces, the sign of transcendence. And we have Pluto, the planet that holds the template for the soul's journey, moving into Aquarius. So it seems we're going to be seeing a time where there is going to be, for example, more of a kind of energy of the mind, the Aquarian mind, perhaps creating, presenting to the world new healing technologies. There's all sorts of new innovations at the moment. Apparently, in China now, you can have these implants, and everywhere you go, all of your banking and your social and civil status can be recorded and go with you. So it means they don't have to carry maybe the same identity cards to gain access to places, to go to the doctor or the hospital. But because it's connected to the whole credit system and all of your banking, if someone, and it's state controlled, if someone decides to switch it off, then you no longer have access to any of your resources or the things that you need. That might seem like a great idea if you're in charge of organizing the state and organizing the people. But if you're an individual living within that organization, within that system, and things get switched off because someone decides that you're no longer as favorable, you don't fit in, maybe you've got different ideas or you behave differently, and it's not so popular, and it won't be so popular with the person who gets switched off. So the thing with these Aquarian innovations is there may be lots and lots of new ideas, lots and lots of new technologies. And the question that comes to mind might be, we could do this, but is it wise? So with all of these things in front of us, it seemed that it would be a good opportunity now to offer a way to connect together for anyone who wanted to, and to begin to share resources to help to empower us as individuals, so that as we step into times of transition and change, instead of being overwhelmed by it, we have resources to make use of the opportunities. The other thing that's led up to this thinking that now is the time that it would be useful to share new opportunities have been the number of people, as I said, I've been speaking to for a while, who have been saying that while they have ways to look after their energy, ways to look after themselves, they don't seem to be working. One of the thoughts that has persisted over the last few years has been that perhaps as the energy of the world that we're living in is shifting and changing, the earth has a vibration and we can measure it. We can see it. If you look at the sky, you see the electromagnetic field and the Van Allen belt, these beautiful colors. that make the northern lights or the southern lights. And this electromagnetic field has been changing. So people have been measuring this and they say, we can measure it on these machines. We say that electromagnetic field is shifting in vibration. And there has been concern. A lot of people have said, we don't know if this is a good thing because maybe it's going to let in dangerous electromagnetic waves from space. Maybe it's going to let something useful in, I don't know. But some change is happening and it's measurable. But as the vibration of the earth is changing, it's going to affect everyone. It is said that through these times, as we move through this Aquarian age, that all the ancient calendars and all of the astrological calendars and the calendars, the prophecies of indigenous people all over the world have talked about this period of time as being one of change and evolution, growth, different to other cycles. Some people say that as each generation comes along, that souls are being born and they hold a higher vibration. There's certainly more and more children who seem to hold a higher conscious vibration. And it's getting harder for their parents or their grandparents' generation to say to them things like children should be seen and not heard because they're determined to have a place for their voice. They have things to tell us and they're becoming our teachers. So living in a world that is different now to the world we grew up in is a challenge. If we don't have resources to help us to navigate these changes, they become problems rather than opportunities. No more questions? No, okay. Either my microphone's switched off, or your speakers are switched off, or you're just absorbing and listening. I hope it's the latter. So this has been, this is my bigger version of the smaller picture. I've been listening to what's happening for me. I've been listening to the themes that my clients are bringing me. And I've been listening and looking at the stories and the prophecies of other people, other systems, and in a way that I'm hoping doesn't sound at all wafty or woo-woo or woolly or fantasy. I think that there's something to be said about the coming time, the coming year, being one that we would want to be paying attention to, being able to be available for, so that we don't miss the opportunity for accelerated healing, for accelerated growing, for accelerated evolution. And to do that, we're going to need new resources. One of the resources um, that I work with, that I have found very helpful for people who feel impacted by the energy of other people around them. I've been installing luminous bands, 5 bands of energy around people's bodies. Now, these bands of power have been a practice in this tradition that's been gifted from one person to another, usually in the series of energetic empowerments known as the Munaiki rites. First time I received them, I thought they were wonderful. Really feel them. 5 luminous bands, black, red, gold, silver, and white. 5 that are symbolic of a rainbow, so that the black band absorbs heavy energy that can be returned to the earth. The red sends it to the oceans and the rivers. The gold to the sun, the silver to the stars and the moon, and the mother of the winds, and the white to spirit. And these bands I found that they worked wonderfully, perfectly. They held me and they allowed me to work in environments, offices, or around other people who are very distressed, or in my shamanic healing work, allowed me to work with people and maintain my sensitivity to what was going on without being overwhelmed by other people. And from time to time, other people would say to me, is there anything else? Is there anything more? And I'd say, well, maybe you need to deal with the idea that you need something more, or the belief that they're not going to work because other things in your life haven't worked, because these things are working for me. And after a while, I began to notice sometimes when I'm working with people, I'm feeling more tired than usual. And I began to think, if this isn't just a problem, how can I see this as an opportunity? What else is it saying to me? And this last year in particular, so saying there are many people have their own practice. Whether they call in angels, or they pray, or they have a way they imagine their energy field around their body filled with gold light. And some people actually build resilient brick walls around themselves because they feel so overly impacted. And I began to wonder, what else could this be saying to me? And I began to link it in with this idea that actually there's nothing wrong with the practices we've been doing, but because the vibration of the world and the vibration of ourselves, because we're made of the same stuff the planet's made of, because it's shifting, maybe as our vibration rises, it's loosening up places where heavy energy that relates to anxieties and fears, past traumas, ours and other people around us, that these are being loosened. And we're beginning to notice them and sense them. So we need something else at this time. It's only a problem if we don't respond to it, but it is an opportunity to see that we need new resources at this time to help ourselves. I thought one of the first things that would be a good resource would be an opportunity to connect together. And as I began to offer the opportunity to connect together, people were coming back and they were saying, what else are you going to be doing? Will it be something like this? Will it be something like that? And listening to my client work, I realized that there was a need to work not just to keep other energies out, but to raise our vibration so we have more energy on the inside of our field and working to empower each of us rather than just building a shield to keep the world outside. Is this making any sense or fitting with anyone else's thinking? Things that you've been experiencing? So as I say, looking at my own process and my Saturn return and thinking, where am I going? What work do I want to be doing? What's my purpose? How do I see the world? There's a lot of re-examining going on. Um, and I thought, what else is needed? What have I been doing? What work has been kind of emerging that has a new place going forwards? On top of that, the lovely venue I've been using for my medicine wheel program in England is changing hands. And it's no longer going to be the retreat venue that I've loved working at for many years. It's going to the hands of a land cooperative, and they're looking to use it as a resource for people who don't have access to their own farmland, so that they can have a little bit and run their own micro farming business. So for me, this was a crisis. This was a problem. I don't have anywhere to work. And looking at my medicine wheel program for the coming year as part of my offerings in 2024, I thought, well, what am I going to do? So I've restructured my medicine wheel program on the back of all of this. And I'm borrowing, building from the way my program has worked slightly differently in both Greece and in Ireland. So for the last year, I was teaching in Ireland in a non-residential basis. For years, I've stuck to the format of having the four directions of the medicine wheel divided up through a year, 6 days working residentially. And it seemed impossible for the group that I had in Ireland to do that. One, we didn't have a venue that could accommodate everyone. And also, everyone was saying the shape and pattern of their lives at this time would make it impossible to take time out and to be away from home because they had little children. So the challenge for me was to hold the program in a way that allowed sufficient depth, that people would be at home in the evening, overnight, they would take their kids to school and they would come to do the work in the morning. And how were they going to leave their day-to-day life outside the door so they could step into a place where they could do the deep healing work for themselves that they wanted to do? That was my challenge. When I began teaching in Greece many years ago, I had a similar request from people, and they said, well, while we can come and we can do the residential training program, we can't be away for more than 3 days at a time. So we split the program. Each of the four modules, instead of being 6 continuous days, were 3 days. And once I started to bring this together, I'm thinking, okay, I now have a way of providing a program where people do their deeper pieces of healing and learn the healing skills that can be non-residential and can work over 2 consecutive weekends. I realized that now it would be possible to use the lands, the woodlands here at home, and the yoga barn. So my partner teaches yoga through the week, which meant Monday to Thursday, it's impossible. I've been thinking about this for a year. How could I do this? Could we start on a Thursday in the morning and then finish before the yoga class in the evening, and then we'd have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because there's no yoga class on Friday, Saturday, Sunday? And nothing was working. No matter how I tried to put it together, it just wasn't coming together in a way that seemed to fit until the autumn, and I'm looking at my transition, my changes, other people telling me what's happening for them, and suddenly everything came together. And I realized there is a time and a place for everything. Just as we're all born somewhere, somewhen, every event in our lives happens at a certain time and a certain place. And there's a pattern for this. I don't always see the pattern. I don't understand all of the patterns, but I know that there's a pattern and that time and place themselves have their own intelligence. In fact, going back to this picture of the Chicana, let me find this picture for us again. This ancient symbol is simple four-sided cross. Forget about the caricatures of the four archetypes on the outside for a moment. You have a symmetrical shape with a horizontal axis and a vertical axis. So the symbolic meaning for the Inca people was that the horizontal axis represented place, space or place, and the vertical axis represents time. So whether we're in the middle or not, we are always somewhere, somewhen. Now, we're all in different places, but we're all connecting in this call at the same time. If you join the call later, yes, if you join the call in the half an hour after we started, because you thought we were starting at half past the hour, then you would think you're in the right place and the right time, but there would be a little bit of a difference. We had intended to meet, or I'd intended we would meet UK time 6 o'clock in this space called Zoom. Or if we decided to have a meeting in person, I would say, we're going to meet here at Wood End on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. And we have time and place. And you're either in the right place at the right time, or the right place at a different time, or a different place at the right time. But unless we're in the same place at the same time, we can't meet. And we need, in this way, time and space, time and place to have a human experience. Along with the vertical and the horizontal, we have these two diagonals. So everything that we do or do not do is the product of our intention. So we intend to be somewhere, somewhen. Yep. I could intend to be in this place, but at a different time, before or after. So the one diagonal represents our intention. And the other diagonal represents the divine plan or our soul's plan. If you believe in God, believes in God's plan or God's intention. And there are moments in life, I'm sure everyone has experienced it to some degree, where we have an intention. We are always somewhere, somewhen. We are always lined up, the vertical and horizontal. But by conscious intention or by accident, by not thinking about it, which is also a conscious intention, I'm not going to pay attention to what I'm doing, we find ourselves aligned with our soul's intention or spirit's intention or some other intention of a higher power. And when we are somewhere, somewhere by intention and it aligns with our soul plan or destiny, we can only find ourselves in one place, and that's in the center of the jhana. And this is where we have these moments that feel like we are out of time and space, that we are in infinity. If you have a meditation practice, you might have found that experience sometimes, like time stops, maybe even your breathing stops. It can happen just because we find ourselves in this place. But again, if you look at the outside of the circle, the outside of the cross, we have the four archetypes and the four directions. So calling in our relationship with the four directions, with that which organizes time and space around us, brings us into the center of the jhana and into infinity. When we're in the center, we're not held by the past or the present, and it allows us to drop the momentum created by the expectations that are pulling us forwards and everything behind us that has brought us to where we are and has told us what we must do or should do to keep ourselves going. So I'm kind of throwing a lot of different things in here in a way. But what I want to begin to do is to pull them together, because the changing structure of the medicine wheel program for next year isn't just about how many days and where and when I'm going to be offering this training program. In order to support people on their journey, whether you follow the medicine wheel with me or you're doing something else as part of your evolutionary journey, what I believe is that we need new resources. So I have a series of workshops that are independent workshops. You don't have to do the medicine wheel journey with me, take part in them, but they're also going to be integral to the medicine wheel journey as new resources. And as such, there are no additional costs for any medicine wheel student in the next year taking these extra workshops to give you extra resources. thought, sorry, I have to put these out a minute. Having these things in my ear seems like a great idea, but I feel like my head's in a cardboard box. Okay. Um, would you mind if I take the earbuds out and go for the? Let's see, make sure the sound quality is okay. Just go for the regular. I mean, no one can hear me now because I've taken them out of my ears. I haven't actually put them away and switched back to the mic. Oh, there we go. I started this call to connect with everyone, and I put these things in my ear so that you could hear me, and I've ended up feeling even more disconnected. It's like, all right, if I say it, it's like this whole thing with technology. I could do it, but is it a good idea? We could do this, but is it wise? It's just not working for me at the moment. So when I look at Wells's, oh, good. So I hear me better now. That's good. I don't have to put those things back in my ear. I quite, I love gadgets. I do, but it's just not working. It's not working at all. Okay, so moving into the next year, and looking at new resources. The bands of power, black, red, gold, silver, white. They've done a great job for so many people, dissolving heavy energies that come towards them through life. But they come from an original Andean practice called kriya. And this is something I had the privilege of being taught this by several Andean shamans. The first one was a guy called Don Isidro, and he spoke no English at all. And my Spanish sometimes is pretty terrible, but we managed to communicate. There's one of the links I'll add. There's a video of him giving Kuya initiation. So Kuya is a healing practice on its own, and you have a set of stones like these. Let me show you so you can see them. Okay. Often they're alabaster. They're oh, here we go. They're white stones. Oh, I really have to get up to show you this. Okay, these are meteorites. They're heavy, but they're lovely. They really do the job of picking up energies. So the Kuya, it's a healing practice. It's lovely. It brings harmony and balance into your body, but it's also an initiation into Andean cosmology. Now, years ago, or before I even thought about South America or the Incas or anything, I had to make a decision about which nursery my daughter would go to. And we lived on a little hill on the top of a little mountain, well, it's a little mountain in Wales. And there weren't many choices about nurseries, but there were a couple, and they were all down in the town of Pontypool. And one of them was a Maithrin, Welsh-speaking nursery. And we'd heard such good things about this. And in fact, two of my yoga students, their children, who were close to my age now, their children had all gone to this. This thing had been going forever. And they said, it's really, really good. And it occurred to me that even if my daughter went on to English-speaking education system in Wales, that having a start that gave her an experience of two different languages, two different cultures, might help her to be more creative and more expressive, to experience the world in different ways and to be able to communicate in different ways. So to help her to be more creative in that way, which might make her life more fulfilling, more enjoyable, or might help her to be more successful. And she went on in the end to go all the way through mainstream education in Welsh-speaking schools as her choice. But in the same way, initiating an introduction to Andean cosmology, a totally different belief system, allows us to expand the way we see and experience the world. It doesn't mean that you have to see it through the paradigm of being an Inca shaman, although you can do, you know. But here we are, we're Western people, we have this one view of the world, and then you have this completely different view of Andean cosmology. And the opportunities it creates, it allows us to see the space in between these two different perspectives, these two different ways of seeing and experiencing the world we live in. So people who've done this work with me previously have said later, as they use the chumpy stones with other people, as they, you start off, you think you're practicing. You think that we're the master. We've been to a little workshop for one day and we've learned how to use these stones and we become the masters because that's, it's our Western way, isn't it? We're very wonderfully egocentric. And if we weren't egocentric, if we didn't have this powerful ego we have, we wouldn't do so many of the amazing things that we have been doing. But the stones begin to initiate us and you begin to see the world differently. And as we step into a world that is rapidly changing, it's a resource that's incredibly useful. The second new workshop that's emerging in this year is going to, I think I have a working title, which is just raising your vibration. I might change it, but the idea is this is where I'm going to offer a program that includes all of the different energy managing practices that I've been working with and have been sharing with other people. The bands of power were one of the practices, and they still are, they're part of it. In ceremony, the 5 luminous bands are placed around you, beginning at the top of your head, a fountain of rainbow-colored lights that cascades around your body, and those rainbow lights begin to create the black band, the red, the gold, the silver, and the white that the person gifting the band wraps around your body. But because this hasn't been enough, there is a series of practices, some derived from shamanic practice and others that have come from classical yoga. So I used to teach yoga and in fact, this January, my partner goes to India to the Iyengar Yoga Center and I volunteered to cover her yoga classes. I thought, my days of bending over backwards were behind me. But it seems I'm going to be revisiting it. So there are a lot of balancing, empowering, energy raising practices, and I'm going to be offering all of these in a structured format. Initially teaching in person, but I'm hoping after a little while I'll be able to offer it online as well as a distance learning program so that you can take responsibility and be empowered with new resources to raise the energy within your body, releasing heavy energy in a way that becomes conscious. So what's coming up on the inside, this is mine, because you're building up a resilient, what's the word? I want to use the word interface. I don't want some words like barrier create the idea that you need to keep things out, but the edge of our luminous energy field is always the place where we meet the outside world. And we want to have a periphery that allows us to keep our energy in and other energies out, but to remain sensitive to what's happening around us. Otherwise, it's just like wearing my earbuds. You start to feel disconnected from the world around you. A lot of people, as you say, feel very impacted by the energy of the world around them. Maybe they identify as being empaths. Yes. These days, there's a lot of adults who are parents, who are aware that this advanced, enhanced empathic experience exists. And so they're sensitive to their children's needs. And they're aware that they have the power to determine what kind of school their children go to, and if they go to school, and if it's not suitable for their child, that they don't have to put them into environments just because everyone else has done it, or because they went to school and they went to the same school as everyone else in their street and the same school as everyone else in their village, and everyone got taught in the same room in the same way, understanding that everybody's needs are different. So the first part of the program begins with doing a little bit of an inventory before stepping into energy raising or building in bands of power, luminous bands around the body. The first part, if you're feeling overwhelmed by other energies, is to do a little bit of an inventory and look at what the triggers are. What tends to impact on you, so that you can understand if you hold an affinity that makes you susceptible to particular kinds of energy. And then you can use the energetic practices, the healing practices that you prefer or are available to you to begin to balance that out. I'm just going to come down to my notes here a little bit. Lots of different things affect us, yeah? These earbuds were making me feel disconnected. I can't hear any of your voices because your microphones are off, but not being able to hear the space around me impacts on me. Wi-Fi. If you're in an environment with a lot of electromagnetism, that may be something that affects you. Being in the presence of people that I've started thinking of as being emotional broadcasters. They might not say anything, but it's as though perhaps the intensity of what they feel or their energy field just doesn't keep their own emotional energy or their thought energy on the inside, and it's always being broadcast out. And if you are susceptible, maybe you feel it more than other people do. We can't always choose who's in the room with us, yes, or what who's in the office with us, or who's in the house with us if it's someone else in your family or extended family. So sometimes there will be a need to develop the boundary. I've used that word, haven't I? The boundary between you, where you meet, that interface. Sometimes it will be a need. If you can't develop that, or you can't keep people out, you have to build the energy up on the inside. So there's a range of different ways we're going to work with this. But one lovely way to do it to begin with is to call in a new resource and to call on the archetype of the jaguar. So in every tradition, in every shamanic tradition, there is an archetype represented like a power animal that will do the job of helping you to sense when something is not quite in harmony or not quite right in the field or the space around you. And something that will help you to remain in harmony and balance. Because when something sets us off, if we feel under threat, we're going to go to all of our classic fight-flight responses. Yes, and you'll either run away. Everyone knows which one they go to first. We run away and hide. We become aggressive. We try to push back if something is pushing towards us. Some people just go quiet. Sometimes we might be like the rabbit in the headlights. You freeze and don't know what to do. So what we're going to do is a little lower world shamanic journey. I'm going to guide you every step of the way. So if you haven't done this before, then don't worry. It's going to be a new experience and hopefully a lovely experience. And you're going to connect with jaguar in the lower world and bring them back and install them in your luminous energy field in your belly through your second chakra. In the belly, it's where we feel all of these emotional instincts, isn't it? So it's the ideal place to put the jaguar energy. Well, Tula, how are we doing? Okay. So to help ourselves on the journey, we're going to create another layer of space for ourselves. We've called in our connection with sacred space. We're calling on the archetypes of the serpent, the jaguar, the hummingbird, the condor, calling in the earth underneath us to support us, the stars and the sun and the moon above us. And now we're going to create our own individual sphere, our own bubble of energy to sit within. So the eighth chakra that sits above the head, separate from the physical body, for the Inca is called the Viracocha, and this means source of the sacred. Every chakra from the base of the spine to the top of the head, yes, there's the roots, the belly, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the forehead, the crown, has the job of combusting heavy energies from our day-to-day experiences and then drawing light energy into the body to nourish us. So they have a relationship with everything that is happening and has happened. The Viracocha sits outside this, and its role is not to combust heavy energy from our day-to-day experiences, tiredness, upset, distress, trauma. Its job is to hold the template for what's possible on our soul's journey. So when we inform ourselves, I'll show you how we do this. We're going to draw it around ourselves like a bubble of energy. We become informed instead of the past, which dictates what's probable. We become informed by what's possible. And usually what's possible is outside of our imagining. So if you'd like to get into a comfortable sitting position, just relax your shoulders, have a little wriggle. If you've not got your camera on, you may be wriggling a lot already. I don't know. Okay, relax your hands and your wrists and set your intentions. Remember, intention is usually more powerful than action. Set your intention to find the Viracocha. And it's going to be above the top of your head. Yeah, usually about so far apart. Set your intention, first of all, just to find it from the outside. Move your hands apart or bring them closer together and close your eyes. It's invisible, so you don't need your eyes open to see it. And sometimes, if you close your eyes, you don't have to think about other people watching what you're doing. It usually has this little bit of resistance that you can feel, almost like holding two magnets and trying to push them together. Yeah. So don't worry about what you see. Bring your hands above your head and just notice what you feel. You can't see it. You can imagine that you see it. You can create it as an imagination, yeah, and see it that way, and you will see it. But for now, just listen to the palms of your hands. If you don't feel it, bring your hands further apart and then bring them closer together. It may be bigger than you think it is. Okay, and when you have a sense of where you feel it is, bring your hands down, just join them together in the middle of your chest. Now what you're doing is you're connecting up energy lines, points between your fingers and thumbs. And now take your hands up and feel in your hands as you push your hands into the center of the ball of energy. Open your hand, turning them outwards, and spread it down around you all the way to the floor. Notice how you feel. Some people experience this as stillness, some as quiet, Some people feel connected. Some people feel the difference in temperature, warmer or cooler. Maybe your mind is screaming at you, I don't feel anything, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. It's just the mind shouting because it's something new the mind hasn't experienced before. So just try again if you don't feel it. Bring your hands up and imagine putting your hands into a soft ball of energy. Turn your hands outwards so that you can spread that ball of energy around you and just feel what you feel. So, staying as you are, sitting comfortably, we're going to make a journey into the lower world. There are many other reasons for going into the lower world, all sorts of healing work that can be done. But today, you set your intention just to journey and connect with your version of the jaguar and bring it back with you. Take a few easy breaths. Set your intention to go on a journey. And imagine that you're lying in a grassy field. Close your eyes. You can use your hands to feel whatever is around you. If you find it difficult to imagine being in a field, feel the blanket underneath you, feel the sofa. Know that you're beginning the journey on a sofa, on a blanket. If you can, imagine that leaving your physical body resting safe and cared for, you stand up and you walk using just your light body or energy body to the edge of the field where you see an ancient tree. And as you get closer to the tree, you see how its roots spread out over the ground. And between the roots at the base of the tree, you see an opening. Getting down on your hands and knees, you crawl through the space between the roots. And you go down through the earth, following the roots. Deeper and deeper through the stones and the earth and the ancient rocks until you find yourself in a cave. And in the cave there's a pool of water. You step into the pool of water and you allow yourself to be cleansed of everything from the middle world that you choose not to bring with you on the journey. Standing up, you step out of the pool of water and you cross the cave to the other side where you see a little stream. Lying down in the stream, you allow the water to carry you deeper and deeper down into the lower world. And as the water slows and comes to a stop, you sit up and you stand up and you step out to the little river and you begin to look around you. You see an ancient rock and you go to stand by the ancient rock. Resting your back against the ancient rock, you call to the keeper of the lower world to come and be with you. By whatever name you know them. Praska, guardian of the lower world. and they come and stand beside you. You explain to them that you've come to reclaim your connection with Jaguar as a power animal, a medicine animal, to help you to empower yourself and walk in harmony and balance in your life. As they nod with understanding, you see the Jaguar appear beside you. You rest your hand on its back, feel its back, feel its fur, the strength of its body. Thanking the keeper of the lower world, you bring the Jaguar with you, and you walk back to the little river of water that brought you down to the lower world. Holding on to the Jaguar, you lie down in the water and allowing out it to carry you up and away from the lower world. Up towards the cave where the water slows down. And as the water slows down, you sit up and you stand up and step out of the water. And you walk across the cave to the other side where the pool of water sits still, and you step into the pool, bringing the Jaguar with you and allowing the water to wash over you, cleansing yourself of everything from the lower world that you do not choose to bring with you, so that only you and your Jaguar remain. And standing up, bringing your Jaguar with you, you travel up through the roof of the cave, through the rocks, the ancient stones and the earth, past the tips of the roots of the ancient tree, along the roots until you emerge through the space at the base of the tree. Then standing up, you walk back to the place where you began your journey, bringing your Jaguar with you. And you lie down in the place where you began your journey. So that all that you are, your light body, your physical body, are all together, all in one place. Taking a couple of breaths, you reach out into the space around you, using your hands. Reach out and allow your hands to find the shape of the Jaguar that you've brought with you. Holding it in your hands, you bring it to the level of your belly. As you bring it closer, feel the connection between its energy and your energy. And bringing your hands onto the outside of your belly, just below your belly button. Allow the energy of the Jaguar that you brought back with you to merge with your energy, drawing the Jaguar into your own energy body. Take a couple of breaths rest. Allow your senses to connect with the space around you. Become aware of the room that you're sitting in. Opening your eyes when you're ready. And then using your hands, as you place the Viracocha around you, tuck your fingers underneath the lower edge and allow your hands to feel that gossamer weight of that thin sheath of energy around your body, and lifting it up slowly and gradually. Return it to the place where it began, where it came from, above the top of your head. Bringing your hands down into a resting place in front of your chest, in front of your heart. Everybody back. If anyone feels they're not back and they're still in some other place, let me know. Okay. So connecting with Jaguar is just one way of adding additional resources to support ourselves on our journey. Any questions or comments or anything anyone wants to kind of chip in with?
Hi.
Right.
It was a great experience. Thank you so much. And I wanted to ask mostly about the programs and if you're going to make a program in Greece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I had a program in Greece every year, and then we had an unplanned but natural break with all of the lockdowns and things. And I did manage to keep going through part of it, but it seems like a good opportunity just to have a break. And so, when you stop, sometimes everything slows down. And I was saying to Matula that, where are all the people who used to want to come to the workshops? Of course, the people are still there, but while I've not been going to Greece, they've been doing other things. And one of the things that's emerged, of course, are many Zoom and distance workshops, which were the only things people could do when they couldn't meet together socially. So this has been something I think that's developed, and a lot of people are accessing these. I think that connecting like this is a wonderful opportunity, but this work, it really is so much more when we do it in person. So one of the thoughts Matula and I had was that perhaps because we can reach lots of people with these calls, that we might find that there are lots of people that we haven't spoken to before, who haven't come to workshops that I've run before. Um, you're not new people, you're just new to me. And that this might be a way to connect with new people who are interested now. People who were interested yesterday, it's great. They've gone on and done something else. They're doing the next thing for them. But we need to have a little bit of an idea of how many people will be interested. And we can, propose some dates and put the program together. And to try to think of this as an opportunity for evolution, that perhaps some of the ways of sharing these teachings and practices and this medicine, you just need the opportunity to grow. Even with the best intention, it's easy enough for me to get stuck doing things the same way because it's the way I've been used to doing it. And it's like opportunities come along and they look like crisis. Yes, because it's the opportunity. It's like the snake. The snake has to shed its skin so that it can grow. If it doesn't, do you know what? That skin's going to burst. So the opportunity is to say, okay, maybe you have to think about doing things a little differently. But the short answer is, yeah, I'd really love to come back to Greece soon and to do this. And we're going to start to, um, maybe offer some work, some online programs like this, some seminars and things where we can deliver it in English and in Greek.
But are you going to have in-person workshops like for groups in another country, right?
Yes,
In the UK?
we have dates planned. I have dates planned in the UK starting in March.
March in UK, North.
North,
It's it is South class. It's gonna happen like the medicine wheel again.
we're going to start
South.
south in March.
Mm-hmm.
In the UK West is in June. The North class September, and the East class in November.
Okay.
I think we started teaching in Ireland, but I think maybe that's not going to happen again this year. It depends on people's interest.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope I've given you, I've given you a taste of some things. I hope it's been interesting and useful. Um, there are some links to things I'm going to send out, and it'll go to everyone because I'm not quite sure exactly who's been in, who's been out of the call, but everyone who registered for the call. Some people said they couldn't be here, so I said I'd send them the links anyway after the event. But if there's anything that remains that anyone wants to ask or say or feedback, um, just maybe if you want to put your microphone on or you want to write something or if you want to come back to me in the next few days, you're very, very welcome to. You come just after 8 o'clock here, and I think it's time to end the call. So thank you also for
I
being.
just wanted to share a few acknowledgements from people that had to leave earlier, and you probably might have missed. Sue said she had to go, but it was lovely to be part of this meeting today, and she will listen to the recording later. Simeon commented on everything you said about energy sensitivity, and he was very happy to hear that, and he absolutely agreed. Noemi loved the holding of the space, and she's looking forward to the next meeting. And I definitely want to bring the medicine wheel in Greece, I wanted to say. And with Joe, we're looking forward to hosting the next medicine wheel in Greece. And we're looking for possible venues for it. And I also wanted to share about Simeon, if that's okay. And his brilliant question, how do I know if, the medicine wheel is for me? Well, you, Joe, brought an example of how it felt for you, stumbling upon this ancient wisdom. And I believe for every person, this is totally very different. I had a very different experience. And for me, I always came across shamanism, but in a way I was not choosing it at that time. And it just came at the right time when I had in my mind, I want to find a shaman teacher. I want to find a shaman teacher. And I was in an island in Greece living there permanently. So things weren't very easy with, as Joe mentioned earlier, with the tourist season opening. And I had it in my mind, where can I find a shaman teacher? And I invited a friend to come and have a drink with me. And he wasn't Greek, but he lived in that island for quite many years. And we've been connecting as friends. And he said, what do you do about breath work? And he was inquiring to find what I do in my work. And then he says, and are you thinking of doing something next? And I said, yeah, I want to find a shaman teacher. He says, I've got a friend, he's coming to visit me. And that was exactly my meeting with Joe. and we just started a very beautiful friendship, and he's been my teacher for all these years in shamanism. But what I wanted to say with that, there's no prerequisites of how it should happen. And for me, the point that of your arrival to this meeting or to this work, it's a sign that something is attracting you here. So it's the synchronicity, which is in yourself. When the time is right, the place is going to appear, or when you are in the place, also the right time is going to appear. And I trust that we're gonna see you very soon in the path, one way or the other. Thank you, Joe, for tonight.
So on that note, I want to say again, thank you all so much for joining. With the holiday season and my the yoga program we have to cover in January, I think the next call I'm going to offer is going to be in February. So you have plenty of notice if you want to join. And we'll take all of the feedback from this call, and whatever happens between now and then, and try to tailor things to what it is. Not just that I want. It's not just about me, but what would be useful and helpful to each of us, or collectively as a group, on our own journeys. So until then, blessings of the season and much love to you all. Till next time.